So it appears that there was no sound coming through, and I appreciate you letting me know. So I'm going to reiterate what I was talking about. So for the first few minutes, I was talking about the importance of leadership in Scrum, and I showed the Scrum Guide. And what I was saying was the Scrum Guide enables you understand what Scrum is. So let me reiterate what I said in the beginning. So in the very beginning, I showed the Scrum Guide, which you can see on the screen. The Scrum Guide put together by Ken Schwaber, Jeff Sutherland. This is the 2020 version. And what I said in the beginning was the Scrum Guide has been put together to help us understand the 353 configuration. 3 roles, 5 events, 3 artifacts. Let's go through a few definitions in the Scrum Guide. First one that I hit was Scrum is a lightweight framework that helps people, teams, and organizations generate value through adaptive solutions to complex problems. In a nutshell, Scrum requires a Scrum Master. And what I said was the Scrum Master is the first role mentioned in this entire document. Wow. So for those of you Scrum Masters thinking that you are insignificant, you need to have a rethink. You are very significant. It reads, the Scrum Master fosters an environment where a product owner orders the work for a complex problem into a product backlog. My goodness. So you Scrum Masters who feel you're insignificant, or you're the errand girl or errand boy, you need to have a different mindset. Now, a lot of you may not say this. A lot of the young Scrum Masters who are just getting into Scrum, and when I say young, it's not by age, it's by the passage of time doing it. You may feel insignificant, but I want you to correct that mindset. You show significance by the value you bring. And you don't bring value by writing code, which is why you're not necessarily a developer. So you ask yourself, what value am I bringing to not just my team, but the entire organization? You ask yourself that question. Where are the opportunities to add value? Ask yourself that question and look for value that you can bring to the entire firm. So the fact that you're mentioned first in this document is huge. Then it mentions the product owner bringing the work for a complex problem, bringing it into the backlog. But I want to wager that the product backlog or the value has no chance of survival if the environment is not right. The Scrum Master is meant to foster an environment. You create the environment with the help of the team, of course, but you need to be mindful of this. There's one more word I want to accentuate here. If you do a quick search and you look for the word positive, it's very peculiar that we will put the word positive in a framework. But Ken and Jeff knew what they were doing. This is not just a framework in isolation of detail to help the Scrum Master. It says, ensuring that all Scrum events take place and are positive. What is the opposite of positive? What else could it be? Negative? If you have a team that is at odds, Scrum Masters got their work cut out. They need to create that environment where teamwork can survive. And that, my friends, is the business case for the book, Scrum Leadership. I really appreciate you coming, and those of you who chatted into me that the audio was not coming through, I really appreciate you. And it's really an example of how teamwork makes the dream work. Because I could have been going on for another 20 minutes, but if not for the power of the team, I would have been at sea. It's a good illustration of how we need each other on the team. Great delivery, poor audio. It's a great example. So, as the Scrum Master, that's an illustration of what you do. You help amplify the team's ideas and thoughts and efforts. You're an amplifier of effort. You're an amplifier of efficiency. That's really what you are. You're a leader. So that's the business case behind the book. And right off the bat, I want to go very quickly into showing you this poster, which encapsulates all of my thinking about this book. I'm going to share it on the screen. And I just call it the 5 levels of Scrum leadership right here. I'm going to put that in the chat. And if you hit that link, you'll be able to download the poster. I'll just give you the very quick hot link to it because I know some folks may not be able to see what I chatted in. So let me go ahead and share the hot link on the screen. Here's the hot link. The hot link is tinyurl.com/fail scrum. Please hit that link and download the PDF. That's the PDF that encapsulates my thoughts on what I'm going to be sharing. And I would really appreciate it if you can download that PDF. And please do me a favor, share it with every Scrum Master that you know. Now, beyond the Scrum Guide, which is one of my favorite reads of Scrum because of its brevity, I have nothing against big books. I've written a few big books myself. But the truth about big books is that it doesn't always equate to value derived. In my books, it does, of course, right? Being a Scrum Master. But in a few other books, too much stuff. The Scrum Guide has 13 pages, and that's great. Now, even though the Scrum Guide is a really good base for anyone getting into that world, it's up to us to discover more. It says it is purposefully incomplete. It cannot contain everything that we need in our individual teams. And that's why when I started mentoring and coaching Scrum Masters, I found out that a lot of Scrum Masters do not understand leadership at all. They understand 3 roles, 5 events, 3 artifacts. Some get into the little squabbles of process. Oh, we shouldn't do backlog refinement as an event. Ken and Jeff never said that. Some people argue about the retrospective. No one said we need to get 1 or 2 things to improve on the next sprint. And they're frothing at the mouth and challenging people doing it. That's the least of our problems. Other people get into the Story Point Boulevard alley and take off their shirts and begin to fight. That's not the problem. Let's go back to the Agile Manifesto. What are the items on the right? What are the items on the left? Individuals and interactions should be valued over process and tools. And I'm going to wait. You already know. You know the word I'm going to add? Frameworks. Processes, tools, and frameworks are meaningless if you do not have the right disposition to people. I see people arguing about Scrum and Kanban. Are you kidding me? That's your problem? Scrum versus Kanban? You got a bigger problem. You got a people problem. Individuals and interactions over processes and tools. I have people arguing about Rally. No, it's Jira. No, it's Trello. No, come on now. All that stuff is not what makes agile. Agile. What makes agile agile, my friends, is your mindset. It's really about how you think. It's about how you process the world around you. So I want to encourage focusing more on the individuals and the interactions over the processes and the tools. It's foolishness. I come from a very heavy process driven background. But when I started learning leadership with John Maxwell, the light bulb came on and I began to realize all that process stuff is the easy stuff. No, no, no. The tough stuff is a soft stuff. The tough stuff is the people piece. It's the people piece. Anyone can do framework and process till the cows come home, but not everyone can do people. People run out of steam when it comes to people more than process. I just can't work with that individual. I'm fed up. I'm fed up of that team. I've had it with that team. Why do people quit companies? I'd like to wager that it's not process. No one quit the firm because the firm decided they wanted to uphold agile or they wanted to uphold predictive methods or hybrid. No one did. But I want to wager that a lot of people would leave the firm if they have a people issue. I know I've got a witness. I'm one of those witnesses. I tell you, I quit companies quicker than you could blink over people. Now, was that a good way of doing things? Of course not. I've gotten more mature over the years. But I tell you, not everyone has that bandwidth or level or tolerance for people issues. So my message to you is you got to think about the leadership piece, which is why I'm sharing this poster with you. Okay, download the poster, share with all the Scrum Masters that you know, and help them to see that leadership is all about influence. John Maxwell says the true measure of leadership is influence. It's nothing more, it's nothing less. It's all about influence. So let's take a look at the 5 levels that I have for you here. The 5 levels of leadership, very simple. And it's inspired, of course, by none other than my mentor, John Maxwell, who wrote a similar book called The 5 Levels of Leadership. Well, here I call this Scrum Leadership. And in the description, you'll find links to the book, the audio, the Kindle. All right, so let's talk about Scrum leadership. What exactly is it? Now you know what Scrum is. What exactly is it? That's a little bit of information about me. Like I said, I come from a very heavy process background, worked in various organizations such as Citigroup, Iron Mountain, Brown and Caldwell, US Airways, American Now, CVS Caremark, Motorola. Been part of a number of teams that have reviewed heavy, unwieldy books. And that's all I'll say about that. Let's move on to the next piece. What is the business case for this? Why leadership in Scrum? The business case is one, Scrum is often misunderstood. 2, when you begin to coach Scrum Masters and teams, you become heightened in your awareness. It is no longer a thing of, I am one. It now becomes, I'm looking from the outside in, and you see things that you never even saw when you were inside. As I coach Scrum Masters and teams, I realize people have a lot of unrealistic expectations about team members and about Scrum Masters. Scrum Masters have a tough job. It's not a management job. I see a lot of Scrum Masters getting frustrated. They get really frustrated about their team and they complain and they moan and groan. You can't control people. You shouldn't try to. Some people are trying to, and that's where there's a problem. Being a Scrum Master is not a management job, it's a leadership job. It's leading without authority. And leadership, unfortunately, is very fuzzy to some people. Some folks are hearing that leadership is influence for the first time. I like a quote from Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs says, management is making people do what you want them to do, what you think they should do. But leadership is inspiring people to do the things they never thought they could. Wow. Steve just gave us a whole new level of the leadership game. It's not about directing. It could be part, but it's not that majorly. It's about influence. Sometimes it's directing, sometimes it's supporting, sometimes it's both. As we can see from the Hersey-Blanchard model, which is a great model for you to understand situational leadership. But when it comes to Scrum leadership, it has more to do with the support angle. Once the team is mature, once the team is mature, once the team is mature. When the team is not mature, you may find yourself doing a lot more directing, especially where the team is new to agile concepts and mindsets. So you got to be ready to wear your situational leadership hat. That's just the truth. All right, let's move on. One thing I've found in the world of Scrum Mastery, people who are Scrum Masters, they haven't had enough leadership coaching. They're lacking in it. They don't understand what leadership is. They don't know what is working for them, and they don't know what is working against them. And I can tell you very quickly, what is going to work for you is relational power, relational energy. Build up the relationships with team members. Invest more time in individuals and interactions. Processes and tools will follow. John Maxwell is one of my major inspirations. You can see him on the screen on the left-hand side with me. He was a major catalyst for me forming the Project Leadership Institute, where I train leadership to a number of project managers and Scrum Masters, product owners. And John just says the true measure of leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. He says, he who thinks he leadeth but has no one following after him is only taking a walk. So John has been a catalyst in my leadership journey and part of the inspiration to write this book. This book covers leadership purely in the lens of the Scrum Master. And it uses the word Scrum, S-C-R-U-M, to give you a very concise picture of leadership from the Scrum Master lens. So let's zoom in a little bit more so that we can pay attention to this framework. Framework is as follows. S. Without the S, the Scrum Master is kicking against the grain, banging their head on a brick wall. You got to first of all be a servant. You got to first of all approach a team with a posture of servanthood. How can I help you? Needs to be your number one question. In the servant piece of Scrum leadership, the Scrum team commits to achieving its goals and to support each other. But it starts with the Scrum Master. You got to support the team with servant leadership and emotional support. Scrum Masters are true leaders who serve the Scrum team and the larger organization. So my question to you is, are you embodying the servant leadership mindset and posture? When the team says, nah, we don't want to use that, we just want to go ahead and use Excel, are you mad at the team for saying that? When the team says, this is what we want to do with code, This is how we want to go about refactoring. Are you mad? When the team says, this is how we'd like to pursue the marketing plan, or this is how we'd like to go about the roadmap, are you mad? Hey, you're a servant. Let the team make their mistakes. Let the team, which is an organism, find things out. I am not saying you cannot coach. You can. But again, when it comes to how to work, when it comes to how to pursue endeavors, you need to allow the team to make up its mind for itself. Don't overdo it. Some people having high blood pressure over what they want the team to do. That's not your role. The team is an organism. We hired adults. They can figure it out. So why don't you allow the team to figure things out? Do your part as a coach. Ask pregnant questions that are laden with meaning, and let the team figure things out. I once heard from a Scrum Master who was not happy that the Scrum team did not need them to do a daily Scrum. Seriously? You have a Scrum team that has been together for the past 365 days, and you're still changing diapers, asking the 3 questions, being all directive about walking the board? Seriously? No. I like what Mike Cohn said on a very recent episode of his. He said the Scrum Master needs to fade into the background. Mike was right on the money. You got to fade. Some of you Scrum Masters being all in the picture, being all in the video. No, just stay behind the camera. You don't need to get into the video shot. That's your role. Servant leadership. Okay, let's move on. You get the idea. So a servant always asks, how can I help you? Let's talk about the C, collaborate. Facilitating stakeholder collaboration as requested or needed. There are times when the Scrum team will request the Scrum Master to help facilitate, because none of them is able to, for one reason or another. The resulting plan is created by the collaborative work of the entire Scrum team. The whole Scrum team then collaborates to define a sprint goal that communicates why the sprint is valuable to stakeholders. Foster a collaborative environment without division. You see, I said the soft stuff is the tough stuff. Scrum Master, if your team is at loggerheads, at war, you need to be a sounding board for collaboration. A team with factions and divisions is not going to thrive. So uphold positivity. You get the idea. Let's move on. The next is results. How do you lead from a results position? It says the Scrum Master is accountable for the Scrum team's effectiveness. They do this by enabling the Scrum team to improve its practices within the Scrum framework, ensuring events are productive and kept within the time box. This is one of the more directive roles of a Scrum Master. That's okay. You can't have your Scrum team blowing past the 15-minute mark on the regular in your daily Scrums, going into 30 minutes. And I'm not talking about the after meeting. I'm talking about the daily Scrum has now become a status meeting. No. You got to help them be results oriented. So their primary focus is on the work of the sprint to make the best possible progress towards these goals. The Scrum team and its stakeholders are open about the work and the challenges. When it comes to results, a lot of people in the world of Scrum are against story points. I don't begrudge anyone who needs to use them, especially a young team. I don't begrudge anyone using story points. Whether you're using t-shirt sizing without going story points, or you're using story points, that's up to you. That's not the biggest of your problems. The biggest of your problems is, are you getting it done? Or is your team always with an excuse at the end of the sprint? This is sprint number 5. Definition of done has gone out of the window 5 times. Scrum Master, this is where you come in with results oriented. This is where you need to put on your results hat, rally the troops, think about what has happened, and harness the power of the team. You see, I've learned a lot from my mentor, John Maxwell. John Maxwell says, none of us is as smart as all of us. Oh, wow. Some people thinking they got all the answers. I want to wager that you don't. You need to listen to the team. When a team brainstorms at a high level of effectiveness, it far surpasses anything that any one of us could ever do. Let's move to the U. The U is unify. Unify the team with the vision. My mentor, John, has a quote that says, people buy into the leader first and then the vision. If people are not buying into the vision, we have an even bigger problem. So hopefully, we're able to cast the vision for whatever product we're working on, whatever service we're working on, whatever endeavor. Could be a bunch of tickets from IT. Maybe you're in the world of DevOps. Does your team understand the greater good of what they're working on is the question. And if the question is yes, great, let's advance. If the question is no, we need to come to an understanding of what the value is for the customer. Our highest priority is to satisfy the customer. How? Through early and continuous delivery of valuable product. It may not be a release. It may not be a fancy iPhone. It may not be a fancy Kindle. It may not be a fancy iPad. But value is in the eye of the beholder. And if the customer says that's value to me, that's your obsession, getting value to them. So as a servant leader and facilitator, the Scrum Master ensures that the team members understand and embrace the project's goals and objectives. By promoting a shared understanding, encouraging collaboration, removing obstacles, facilitating agile events, some people are going to have a whole powwow over using the word ceremony. So agile police, scrum police, I substituted ceremonies with events because I know you're on my tail for that one. By promoting a shared understanding, encouraging collaboration, removing obstacles, facilitating agile events, and nurturing a positive team culture, the Scrum Master helps the team successfully achieve the project's goals and objectives. Unifying leadership is so important. It's helping the team see the vision, but understand how we're coming together to fulfill it. Let's talk about the final one. It's the M. The Scrum Master is a positive force that grounds and aligns everyone back to the why in a positive way, ensuring that all Scrum events take place and are positive, productive, and kept within the time box. My goodness. Ken and Jeff are geniuses, in my opinion. That word underscores your Scrum Master hat, a hat of positivity. You might as well just buy a hat that says positive and wear it daily to remember you are a positive force. You cannot afford to have a pity party. You cannot afford to let your team have a pity party. You need to keep it positive and keep advancing towards your goal. So that's it, my friends. Right there in the chat, I sent you the 5 levels. And the 5 levels are not, level 1 is not as superior as, no, they're all linear. These are linear. And as a Scrum Master, on some days, you may need to be a little bit more in the world of mindfulness. Another thing about the mindfulness component when we talk about positivity is positive mental attitude. Some people are negative Ned, negative Nancy, dark cloud Darcy. You need to help people come out of that negative state by doing what Ken and Jeff are suggesting, being positive. Another thing about mindfulness leadership is it sees when people are having a very poor day, mindset wise. When their mindset is off, they're not able to be as effective, and you should care about that. So, M for empathy is a joke. But I'm serious. Emotional intelligence and empathy also go in this bucket. Mindfulness, being emotionally intelligent. I'm not saying you need to go look at those charts. No, go by intuition, right? The great Jack Welch, rest his soul, he talks about going with your gut, go with your gut, understand, feel things out. The Myers-Briggs people, yes, yes, I know. There's a place for that, but I'm not talking about that. We don't do that in this world before we take action. We feel things that are off. We use the power of intuition, even though some people it sounds hokey and spooky. It's not. Go with your gut. Your gut's telling you something's wrong. Look under the hood. Ask questions. Understand the work of Professor Emeritus Albert Mehrabian. In a lot of situations, we are communicating a high stakes emotional message. So why do you want to do that over the phone? Or why do you want to do that with your cameras off? Hey, let me talk to those Scrum teams who are still living in La La Land. You're still living in the 1550s. Are you kidding me that in today's day and age, yes, you're geographically dispersed, but the cameras are off? How on earth are you going to hear what is not said? But it's spoken by the body language, but your cameras are off, so you really can't tell. Seriously? These are things that the Scrum Master needs to elevate. Face-to-face is not always possible, but everyone's got a camera on their phone. Come on now. So when you're joining these meetings, there should be an expectation to, as much as possible, leverage the power of the 55. The body language. Tone of voice and words are not enough. Turn the camera on. It'll be very helpful to you. And that, my friends, is all I have for today. I want to say a massive thank you to all of you. I really appreciate you for sharing your insights in the very beginning and letting me know that this was not being broadcast in terms of audio. We got a very good question that I want to take from Wise Planner. How does this differ from PM, project management? It's a brilliant question. What is project management? Let's break it down. Project management is the application of knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques to project activities to derive a favorable outcome for the customer. Now, when you think about knowledge and skill, leadership is a learned skill. And therefore, leadership is a huge part of successful, the key word being successful, project management. A lot of project managers looking for processes and tools, processes and tools, processes and tools. Where's my charter? Where's my plan? Where's my issue log? And there's nothing wrong with that. Hey, I wrote a lot of books on that stuff. But you can have all the tools in the project management toolbox and be an inept leader, not inspiring your people to even work the project with mindfulness. So I would like you to see this model as being an add-on to whatever exists, right? So let's talk about one more thing. There's a very famous poster in the world of Scrum, and I know you've come across it, some of you. who are affiliated with Ken's firm by way of the PSM, right? I know you're aware of it, but not everyone is. So let me share it on the screen. Let's go back to sharing. I know some of you have seen it, and some of you haven't. Here we go. This one right here. This, from scrum.org, really focuses on the 353. Rightfully so. It's a Scrum framework. Hello, it's a framework. It's a framework that revolves around the artifacts, the events, and the roles. However, this image does not tell you how to lead, because that's not what it's for. It is not meant to be a leadership guide. It's a framework. It's a framework. So, Wise Planner, I want to say thank you for asking that question, because when we think about leadership and project management, we normally see them as parallel lines, and they're not. That's why I formed the Project Leadership Institute, projectleadershipinstitute.com. This is where I mentor, train, and coach project managers to be great leaders on projects, because that's really what it is. All right, you get the idea. Let me move on. Thank you for the question. All right, thank you very much, Baha. I appreciate that. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Dion. Great to see you. Negative people. Oh dear. Don't let me go down the negative boulevard. I may not come out. I may not come out, but thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Sachin and Sumit. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your feedback in the earlier parts of this. Again, that's all I have for today. If there are questions, I would like to take some questions now. Please put some questions in the chat if you have any. For me, I just need you to download the PDF, okay? And I need you to share it with as many people as possible, because there are a lot of Scrum Masters going through tough times on their projects. I know this firsthand. I've mentored and trained a lot of them. Everything from hardware to software to the likes of Disney to the likes of Amazon. I have worked with a lot of folks, and I know that this aspect of leadership in the world of Scrum is needed, which is why I made this 2-pager available for you. Okay? So check out the 2-pager, download it, share it, share it, share it. It's free, obviously, which is why I put the link in there. And the second page, for those who are looking at the second page just gives you a more textual definition of everything. The image on the first page is really more for you to look at an image and get the idea quickly. So if you wanted to dive a little bit more into the details, that's page 2. All right, there's also a course that has been developed for this, and there are workbooks and announcements of that are coming soon. But if you wanted to get either the audio book, or you wanted to get the Kindle, or you wanted to get the hard copy, those are on Amazon and Audible right now. All right, so I'm really on a mission to help Scrum Masters. This whole journey, it actually started off with Tom Meller, my Scrum instructor, back in 2011. This is a rather comical story, because Tom came into the Phoenix Project Management Institute chapter and was our instructor. And a lot of people had this, how dare you talk about predictive project management like that? And, you know, the clause came out, and Tom said, give me some time to finish what I'm saying, and just listen and just take it with a pinch of salt. By the time he was done, we understood that project management body of knowledge is great, but it's just one way to your outcome. It's just one way. There are many ways. I find it comical when people are arguing about predictive project management being garbage. That's a negative mindset. Not everything can be done or should be done using one method or one framework. That's foolishness. But one thing I want to tell you, though, is everything should be done with an agile mindset. Even in the realm of a predictive execution, have an agile mindset. Because everyone has a plan, as Mike Tyson said, until they are punched in the mouth, which is why the Agile Manifesto authors told you to value changing a plan, right? Responding to change. Instead of you say, no, the plan can't change. It must be etched in stone and followed to the letter. My plan must never change or I'm a failure. That's not the way to manage projects. Just remember that there's value in responding to change over doggedly following a plan, especially when the plan is falling apart. All right, my friends. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate you. Thank you. I'll see you again soon. Please share that PDF with everyone possible. Okay. Bye for now.